We are.
Once right before you, yeah, then you can do your intro right when everybody's in.
Good afternoon. We have a few more people coming in, and we'll get started in just a second. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for breakout session number 4. Great customer service starts with a great culture. This session is being sponsored by Platinum sponsor Cisco. Cisco is blazing the trail to digital transformation in state and local government with technologies and services that transform citizen experiences, agency processes, and business models. Our solutions in cloud computing, cybersecurity, and collaboration connect government anywhere, anytime to better serve their communities. Cisco delivers strategies for digitalization that meet today's needs 24/7 while keeping networks secure. For more information, visit www.cisco.com/go/state and local. Again, this is great customer service starts with a great culture. And my name is Tabitha Summerlin. I'll be your room host for today. This session, culture is the most effective and long-term solution to driving great customer service. That's easy to say, but how do you actually do it? This will be a discussion around the functional aspects of changing your group culture to drive great customer service. We hope you have some ideas as we explore what this looks like in the real world. Our speaker this afternoon is none other than Mr. Glenn Hasted. Glenn is the ITS Director of Onslow County and a 2008 graduate of the UNC CGCIO program and has been in local government since 1998. The team he leads has been recognized for its innovative work, and the methodology he is using is based on servant leadership as well as experience. Glenn also serves on the NCLGISA board as the president-elect. At this time, I'll turn it over to Glenn, and I'll be back at the end of the session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tabitha, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I see a lot of very familiar names, so it's great to see you guys. So let's talk about what great customer service is, right? So I got a buddy of mine. I'm originally from New York, as a lot of you know. I got a buddy of mine. He went back up to New York, took his little girl, and he went to see the Macy's Santa, right? He got there, the line was around the block. He went and talked to this guy in an elf costume. He says, "Man, this line is forever. I don't want to wait." Guy in the elf costume says, "Don't worry about it. From where you're at right now, half an hour to see Santa." He says, "No way." He says, "No, half an hour to see Santa from where you're at now." He says, "All right, I'll give it a shot." So he's standing there and he's talking to the elf, and the elf is talking to everybody else. And who are you? What's your name? That kind of thing. And where are you from? And everything like that. He's talking to his daughter, interacting with his daughter. So he goes, and sure enough, a half an hour later, they're getting escorted back to see Santa. And so they walk down the hall. They walk into this room. Santa is waiting for them. As they walk in, his daughter's name was Brittany. As they walk in, Santa looks at him and says, "Brittany, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. It's so much better to see you in person than to see you through my magic snowball. I understand that you want whatever she wanted, a Barbie townhouse, whatever it was. I understand you want a Barbie townhouse this year for Christmas, but you've been a very good girl, so I'll see what I can do about that. My buddy was blown away. I mean, he's just blown away. He walked in and he's just floored by the response that he's gotten from this Santa. And the reason he got this response from the Santa is because they had mined all this information previously. When that elf was talking, that elf had a tablet in his hand, and that elf was writing things down, right? And to me, this is just this happened. By the way, this whole thing happened, I want to say, probably 15 years ago, right? And I wasn't even there, right? It's my friend's story. I wasn't even there. But yet this picture of ultimate customer service is still up in my head, right? So when we're thinking about what good customer service is, good customer service is an experience. It's an experience, and it's a relationship that happens. So let's see what we're going to talk about here. And this is going to be a discussion. I'm not going to be up here pontificating, right? This is going to be a discussion because I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not the one with the best ideas. I have great ideas because I have great people, and I listen, and I talk to them, and I listen to them. So when we talk about great customer service, we have our mission is up there to the right of agenda. That's our mission. That's what we say. Now, a lot of people talk about the mission statement, and they go, "Oh, it's a mission statement. It's, you know, whatever. It's words on a wall. It's words on a paper on the budget." Well, yeah, it can be, or it can be something you actually mean. You know, that is our mission. That is what we're trying to do. We got that by talking to, you know, when I was developing that mission, I was talking to the people that were on the team, trying to find out the best way to do this. You know, what do we want to do? I had some ideas. And recently I brought this thing out when we were working on our budget again. I brought it out and I said, "Hey, is this what we're still doing? You know, is this what's still happening?" And the answer is yes. They said, "No, we don't want to change anything because that's exactly what we're trying to do." So I guess what I'm starting with is, if you want good customer service, first of all, you've got to have a target. You know, you've got to have, what are you trying to do? You know, is customer service really one of your goals? And if it is, you need to talk it up. You know, if they don't hear me talking about customer service, if they don't hear me making that a priority, then, you know, it's not going to be their priority either. You know, culture is driven by the top, right? Everyone drives their own culture around them, but I mean, the culture for a group is driven by the leader of that group. As an example, I mean, I remember talking to some CIOs years ago, and I said, you know, how do you change the culture? And they said, well, you got to fire everybody and hire new people on them. I was flabbergasted by this. It was just, it just seemed so wrong, because to me, the culture in the group is driven by the leader of the group. And if you don't like the culture that you're in, then you need to, you know, change what you're doing and how you're doing it. But to get back to this mission, you know, one thing that we talk about, and I hate the word customer, but I kept it in there because otherwise I have to keep explaining it. I feel like, you know, we're an internally servicing, you know, we're an internal department, right? We service internal customers, right? But they're not just customers, they're coworkers. You know, customer comes and goes, but a coworker you got to work with every day. We service our coworkers, and I don't want to just provide a service. I want to be a partner. I want to be part of what they're doing. I want to understand what their business processes are and try to make things better. I mean, that's the whole point of IT, isn't it? We're not here just to do tech stuff, just to fix PCs. We're here, and then we have the computers and we have the software because we're trying to do stuff. Whatever that line of business is, we're trying to do that. And so we need to be in partnership and have that as our mission when we're dealing with those folks. So what ideas do you guys have before we get into the rest of this stuff? I'd love to see some stuff in the chat if you could, or I believe you can unmute yourself. What ideas do you guys have for mission? Or how do you communicate what we're trying to do as far as customer service? Don't all speak at once, please. You should be able to unmute, or you can put your hand up.
I think one of the things that's really necessary, one of the things that we did here, City of Fayetteville, is we have customer relationship managers. We have two that serve the city, and we're the folks that supply the relationship. So we're the translators for our end user clients to IT, so that they're not so frustrated by our processes and by the technology. And when there's an issue the other way, from IT to the end user, then we're called in because we're the ones that kind of own the relationship. As they're trying to provide the service, we own the relationship.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, we here in Onslow, I've got 1,300 users or 1,300 coworkers in the organization ish. It's usually about a little more, but I've got 10 people in our staff, really, and that's a lot. That's a lot of people. So every one of my folks has to be that CRM, as well as the IT person. So I need them to speak, just like we can't speak government to our citizens and expect them to understand us. We can't speak tech to our coworkers and have them expect to understand us. SLAs, sure, Scott. SLAs are a great way to do that. I personally, I think when we put performance indicators, metrics on things, to me, if you haven't fixed the culture first, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse, right? The culture to me is maybe we should talk about that for a minute. But the culture to me is what determines the range of your success or failure, right? A really bad culture can still succeed. It's just not going to succeed that great. And a real good culture can fail. It's just not going to fail as hard. So, having a good culture is, you have to fix that first. But that's just my thoughts on that.
We have business liaisons, and we have I guess it's monthly. We have a monthly meeting with our business liaisons, which are basically people from each department. They pick one or two people, and and usually we'll get somebody from each of our teams in IS, and we'll basically tell them, here are things that are coming up, here are projects we're working on, here are some things that your folks need to be aware of that might impact you as a user community, like patches or software updates, that kind of thing. And it's also a good opportunity for their side, if you want to look at it that way, for their teams to communicate to us, some things that they need or perceived needs So I think that's a really good opportunity for communication.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that actually drives into the next point, which is model. I could tell people what I want them to do, right? But I have to model it for them, right? So they see what's happening. So that maybe that starts with a PC replacement. You have a new employee or whatever that's doing a PC replacement. Maybe we'll sit and say, hey, you know what, when we replace this PC, let's spend a little time with them. Yeah, I don't, I want you to do X number of machines a day, but if we got to spend time with people so that they understand it, we spend time with them. What we've done here is, like for instance, obviously everyone else has been pushing out Windows 10 the last couple of years, because 7 was coming due. When we were pushing out Windows 10, we had a bunch of people that were frustrated moving from 7 to 10. They weren't IT people. So we did classes. We do a lot of classes. We did classes for 365. We did, but we do a lot of classes, and we do those classes because people tell us, hey, we just don't know how to use this stuff. And so that helps to, like Lisa just put in there, having that training and getting in front of people, that helps get their buy-in for that technology too, because it's not just a class. It's kind of like an infomercial, right? It's time for you to be able to build that relationship. If I'm replacing somebody's computer, there's nothing more personal than I can really work on with them at work. And that's a wonderful time for me to really build that relationship with that user and understand what they're trying to do, so that I can maybe leverage some technology to make their job a little bit easier. But we need to really model what we want our team to do. Ask those questions. When somebody says, hey, I want to do whatever, well, hold on a second. What are you really trying? Don't tell me what technology you need. Don't tell me you need an access point or something. What are you trying to do? What's the intent here? Let's ask those questions. And when we ask the question, spend time listening. When they're talking, don't start, solving it in your head. Spend the time listening. And yeah, being able to put a name on a face, or a face on a name is tremendously important.
And Glenn, can I say something?
Yeah.
This is Felicia Conyers from Nash County. Also, you have to have that customer service. And a lot of times, give me that warm, fuzzy feeling. When you approaching them, when they having a problem, you just can't go there and just bite their head off. What you do this time? You have to ask them, okay, so what did you do? What happened for this problem to occur? Was it occurring the whole time? You got to do troubleshooting tips with them. And also just greet them with a smile. Or even if you do it over the phone, just say, hey, how you doing today? Good morning. You would be amazed how people will react to you, even though you can't even fix the problem.
Amen. I can't like that comment enough. But we could talk about that, right? But how do we as leaders build that, right? How do we as leaders want you to do that, right?
But in my role, what I do with my guys that's up under me, I tell them, when you go to somebody, just make sure, just tell them good morning or how you doing. Just give them good customer service, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to give customer service to our employees, even though we are the techie people, but at the end of the day, they know their job and we know our job. So if we work together, we will get everything working so that everybody won't be frustrated, because we're frustrated with technology as well. But at the end of the day, we are. Just like with this COVID stuff, everybody's talking about, well, how can we do this? How can we do that? Well, we have to figure stuff out too. We don't know everything. We can't go out there and take a motor out of a car, but they feel like we can.
That's right. No. So you're making my points, right? So you've communicated it, and then you've modeled it, right? You performed that example. You said, this is the expectations, and you go and do those things, and they see you doing those things. And that's really important. Those two things are really, really important. I think one other thing that, and this to me is one of the most important things that you can do, is when you're leading, right? When you're leading your team, the customer service that your team gives is an extension on how they're treated, right? It's an extension on how they feel they're treated. If you treat your people really good, right? If you care about them, if you support them, if you got their back and they're not worried about, when they try something, if they're not worried about getting fired because you got their back, that you're going to support them. And you feel, and they feel like you care about them and their personal lives. Really all the things that we read about when we're reading servant leadership, when we're trying to leverage those servant leadership skills. If I care about you, you know that I care about you. You know that I have your best interests in heart. You know that, and I try to create an environment where you feel valued and you feel like you matter and that your opinion matters. And I create this environment. Well, guess what? You're happier, right? You're happier. You come to work, you're happier. And that extends out to everyone you meet. And that extends out to that coworker that they're going to help. And so you've told them that customer service is important. You've modeled what that customer service is. Now you've also come back and your employees, your team, I hate calling them employees, but your team feels like they matter, right? They feel like somebody cares about them at work. They feel like somebody values them. Well, guess what? It's really pretty easy. They go out and do that stuff that you're asking them to do. I mean, my first blush, if I want someone to do something, or if I want somebody to do something differently, the very first thing I'm going to is some kind of positive oriented. I'm not going to go correct someone. That's my last resort. I want to model it. I want to show them what I want. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to have clear expectations. I'm going to tell them what I expect. And then I'm going to treat them like they're valuable, wonderful human beings, because guess what? They're wonderful, valuable human beings. And if I feel like they're not communicating in English, then I need to go back and say, okay, maybe I'm not communicating in English. Maybe I'm not modeling that behavior. Maybe I haven't communicated to them that I need them to speak in English instead of nerd. But yeah, the Mike is nailing it here, right? In the chat, he says, you got to have an interest in people on a personal level. They're picked. So when we did when we were in remote in COVID, to me that was just, it's wonderful, because I got to when we had our virtual meeting, everyone on my team was inviting me into their home. I got to see their dogs, their kids running around, climbing on their heads while we're having a meeting. It was wonderful. And it really gave me an opportunity to connect with them a little better. So now I can ask them, hey, how's so-and-so doing? How's your kid doing? How's your husband? How's your wife? Whatever. And that just, it's wonderful. And if I'm genuinely kind and nice to them, guess what? They turn around and do the same thing. So that's really, yes, absolutely. And Tabitha, that's so true. And that's exactly what you need to do. So, the other thing we talk about when we're talking about, support and our employees it's appreciating them, right? If I tell, when you're correcting someone, you correct them in private, right? And when you appreciate them, you do it in public, right? This is leadership 101. Why? Well, when I appreciate you, see Tabitha, she's running the room here. Hey, Tabitha, I really appreciate the way that you waited for everyone to come into the room. You were very respectful of them. You didn't want them to miss anything. You took the time to wait for them, and then you gave a very coherent intro about our vendor, which is so important, our business partner, which is so important. And then, you told them who I was and everything. You just did a great job with it. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
So that means a lot, right, Tabitha? I mean, if I was just to say, good job.
That's important. It matters. It matters that you remember the details.
That's right. But what happened is, since I did this in public, right? Felina, who's also in here, has heard that. Everyone else that's in this meeting has heard that, right? And then, they understand even clearer what my intentions are, because I've told you what you've done. And yes, Scott, definitely, you can't just call them in only to rag them out. Absolutely. Otherwise, anytime somebody comes in here, it's just a problem. But yeah, that's definitely something to be mindful of. But trust me, they're in here all the time anyway. But when I call you out for a very specific thing, everyone around you that hears that, no, going to Steve's office is a walk of shame. But everyone around you that hears me telling you what you did right now has that modeled again for them, and they understand that. Oh, that's a good thing, because that's what we want to do. The other thing we do is when we have our department meetings. To me, appreciation is a little different than recognition, right? Yeah, it builds confidence. It's everything. But appreciating somebody is a little different than recognizing. I can appreciate you, and I can go say, I really appreciate what you did for that customer, and this is why I appreciate it, right? That's great. But to me, recognition, that public recognition, is also important. When we have our department meetings, we start all of our department meetings with kudos. And I've never in 5 years been able to start our monthly department meeting without kudos, ever. And that does a couple of things. When I start with kudos, right, I'm calling groups out for things that they've done right, but it's a team building thing. Hey, we're a better team because of what this person did, but it's the team that's successful, right? It's the team that's getting from A to B. But appreciating someone and recognizing what they're doing, that reiterates that what you've told them to do, right? You've told them to do this, you've modeled it. You've also shown that you care and you support them, and that you're treating them the way you want them to treat the customer. And then when they do it right, you're there telling them, hey, you did it right. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Right? Those four things, right? Those four things is what really builds that culture of customer service. When you change the culture in a positive way, you are positioning yourself for long-term and repetitive success. I can yell at people to get them to do something, but that's a horrible culture to be in, and that's only going to last so long before they get out and go to a different place. But when you create that culture of success, and part of that, you know, we mentioned support, care, caring about someone. You know, oh, that's the next slide. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Part of that is also caring about growing them. So I like to meet with them, and I want to understand, where do you want your career to go? You know, do you want to be a nerd, you know, the uber nerd? Do you want to get into management? Do you want, you know, what is it that's your goal? And how do you want to get there? Because if I don't understand where you're trying to go, I can't give you the projects that help you grow. I can't give you training. I can't mentor you or find a better mentor for whatever. Like, I'm not the technical mentor. If somebody wants to grow their technical skills, Ted is my deputy. He's the uber geek. You know, go to him and he will help grow your technical skills much better than I could. You want to learn how to be a leader? Yeah, come to me. And I'll teach you that. But if you want to be a nerd, you know, if you want to be a better tech, Ted is the one that can help you do that better. And then, yeah, like Steve was saying, challenging someone. I don't tell them what I want them to do. I tell them what I'd like it to look like at the end, or what the problem has to be, what the problem is that has to be solved. Everybody gets from A to B differently, right? You have to be able to let them get there. But what's the challenge with that? I have to let them be empowered to do it the way they want to do it, which sometimes will fail. And we have to allow them sometimes to fail. Yes, I can, Sylvia. But we have to allow people the opportunity to fail and treat it as growth. I mean, fail to me is just first attempt in learning. You don't grow by doing things right. You get your true growth by making mistakes, because we don't just make the mistake and leave it there and go, oh crap, it doesn't work. You have to fix it, right? Okay, you made a mistake. Okay, great, let's fix it. We still have to get from A to B, let's fix it. And exactly right, you're failing forward. So not only do you know now how not to do it, you learn how to do it, and then it's done. So I want to open this up a little bit, because I didn't want to talk this much, honestly. Where are you guys having problems getting customer service leveraged in your group? Anyone?
Glenn, I think this is such a good topic, especially for us as IT people. Let me put my camera on. Because when I started teaching this class like several years ago, it was like soft skills. We don't need soft skills. All we need to do is be tech people, you know? And that's
Right.
why these customer service classes started coming up, because no, soft skills are just as important. And I stepped away for a minute, so hopefully I'm not repeating some of the things that you all have already talked about. But one of the things that we did was we created IT customer relationship managers to help with the customer service issue. You know, but I was just sitting here thinking while you all were talking, does creating a customer relationship manager position, does that give a pass to IT people? You know, because if you create that that middle person, that liaison, they're the ones who have to have the good customer service. Does that mean that the other ones don't have to have it anymore?
you know. So I was just wondering if any other agencies, and I don't mean to take over your question.
No.
Wondered if other agencies had done anything like that to quote, resolve any issues that they had with customer service.
So while we're waiting on people, I know some people had mentioned before that they had done that, and so maybe and they may chime in. But Glenn, I think with us, we struggle with customer service, and I honestly think that it comes back to what you were just talking about, was that fear of failure, fear of doing it wrong. I think when you go into a situation and you're not sure on how you're going to solve the problem, and you have someone there who is expecting you to, hit it out of the park as soon as you get there. I got a problem, your IT fix my problem, and you're maybe, don't feel that you have the culture that tells you it's okay to take your time and work through the problem at hand, that you can get frustrated, and that that shows as poor customer service. So I think within our agency, one of the things that we may be struggling with is giving people the sense that it's okay to be wrong and okay to take your time to figure something out.
Sure. Well, I think what's important too is you're building a culture of collaboration. If you don't, like, I'll be the first one to say I don't know anything, or that what I said is wrong. And when I do that, I'm modeling. Again, we're going back to this, I model the behavior that I can be wrong. And if I can be wrong, anyone else on the team can be wrong, right? So if we can all be wrong, okay, great. Well, how do we be right? We work together. And they're not afraid to say, hey, man, I need some help. I'm trying to figure this out. I want to get, can you look at this with me, and we'll get from, and that happens all the time.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I apologize. My dog decided to bark.
Of
Finally
course.
decided to talk. But so I think it's important to point out. Hold on one second.
Oh, we'll come back to you, Jacqueline.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that it's important to point out that there's two different kinds of customers. There's external customers that are not part of our internal organizations, and then there's all that may be viewing our website. And how you gather information and input from them will need to be different from how you gather information and meet the needs of our internal customers that are other departments. And you almost have to have a two-pronged approach to it. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. And getting that information inside, right? We do those classes, and that's important, right? But the other thing that we started doing is we call them Tech Tuesdays, and we actually go in, we bring IT people, and we sit in their department for the day, and just sit and, hey, let's just learn your business process, and we're just here to fix stuff and understand things and see how we can help. And when we do these things, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, somebody made a good point. I think it was Jennifer. But when I hear things like, well, IT, we just want to fix things and have them not know we're here, right? Oh my gosh, there's, to me, no worse way to run IT. You become the electric company at that point. And what I mean by that is you're there to keep the lights on. And when you're there to keep the lights on, and that's what you're trying to do, you've automatically lost, because eventually the lights go out. There's no way to win, right? It's impossible for you to win. It's impossible for you to be successful keeping the lights on, because if all you're doing is keeping the lights on, eventually they go out and you fail. If you're not moving your organization forward, you have no path to success. And when you move your organization forward, when you're out there helping people get from A to B by leveraging technology, now you're building a relationship with them. You're seen as an asset. I've always said, if I'm not helping you move right? If all I'm doing is keep the lights on, you need to outsource all of us because you'll save money. I need to be a partner. I need to be part of your business so that I'm helping you do what you do. And I'm now essential, right? I had a coworker recently, another department head, say in front of other department heads and an assistant county manager, IT is the most responsive department in the county. And the other department heads in that room were nodding their head going, yep, yep. And that's because we didn't become the party of no, right? We didn't become the department of no. When you want to get something done, your answer isn't going to be no from us. It's going to be, well, what are you trying to do? And how can I help you achieve that? And that's how we get from A to B.
Hey, Glenn.
Yep.
There are a couple of situations that we've had over the past when it comes to providing customer services service that we had to deal with. One was staff, especially newer staff, with the difficulty of understanding politics involved with providing customer service, you know, and ranking priorities due to that. And another one was over-promising and under-delivering. You know, so those
Sure.
two hurdles we had to face and overcome as well.
Yeah, and definitely, and to Felicia's point, when you have a good relationship with your users, you have more ability to fail with them, but you can't overpromise and underdeliver. I mean, what you can do is be honest. I will try my best and do my best to find the best solution that we can be for you. And when we do that, then they really, you know, and then you come in with a rock star plan and knock it out of the park. Now you've over delivered.
And we all are faced with the politics. You know, we work for government.
Sure.
We have a city council member or a county commissioner call in. They're having a problem with their iPad, and we have a user that is not able to do their job because they blue screen. You know, and which one do you tackle first? And juggling those.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And just to circle back to the agenda at the bottom, the job versus career, this couldn't be more important to me. And I think everyone understands what the difference is, but like a job, look, I'm just here to get a paycheck and then I'm going home. You know, I have no illusions that if somebody won the lottery on my team that they wouldn't quit. I mean, I would too. But I just don't want them to leave for the same job in another organization, right? I want them to leave because it's moving them towards their passions. It's moving them upwards in the career, whatever it is. It's a benefit. It's more of a benefit for them to move to this other organization. You know, I want them to feel like they're growing. I want them to feel like even if they grow and they move somewhere else, hey, I want you to grow. But I want people to feel like this is a career. I want them to have a passion. That's one thing that you can do also. If you can tie their personal beliefs into the greater purpose of what you're trying to do, now you've tapped into their passion, right? And to me, I think this is easy to do for government because, you know, a lot of us are in government because we want to make a difference. I tell you, there was a department meeting I had the sheriff's department come and tell my team why they were important to them. And the sheriff's department came, and it was so powerful. they said, especially to the GIS people, what you do keeps our officers alive and they get to go home to their families. And they were like, what? Yeah, we know where everybody is. And if they need help, we know where to go to help them. And we know, and knowing that is what helps us get people home to be with their families. What you do is so important. And they went on to explain other reasons, but it was just so powerful for them to hear that they were now able to, come and say, I'm making a difference. And this is why I'm making a difference. But I'm running a little bit out of time. I want to have a little more conversation in a minute. Let me tell you about another customer service experience I had, and maybe this will make kind of bring an idea home to you. I went back up to New York with my family, and we went to the Bronx Zoo with some relatives that lived up there, my wife's sisters and their families. And we went to an Italian restaurant in the Bronx, right? We walked in. This guy was talking to us like we were family. We walked in, he's like, oh, come on, sit over here. He started bringing bruschetta to the table. We hadn't ordered yet. We could have walked out, but he's bringing bruschetta to the table. There was a birthday party. Some older lady was having a birthday party. I don't know, mob mom or something, but she was having a birthday party over there. But he just came in. Oh yeah, what do you want? Oh yeah, it's just so friendly, so wonderful. We felt like we were part of his family, right? We were a part of something. That's a huge point. We felt like we were a part of something. So we were in there and we're eating. Oh, it was great food. I mean, it was really good. By the end of it, we're singing happy birthday with this older lady. We're singing, we're dancing with these people we don't even know. And it was the best experience. This is 13 years ago, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. We were part of that family. We were part of something. Your people need to feel like they're part of something. Your people, your team needs to work with the coworkers like they're on the same team. Like they're all in this, we're all in this together. And it's just so important. That's what, to me, epitomizes customer service. And if I'm not doing it, none of the other people on my team are doing it. If I'm not doing it, no one else is here to do it. So when somebody comes to our department, I'm up there and I'm doing it. When I'm talking to the other members of the team, I'm treating them the way I want them to treat our coworkers. And that's how you get this. This is what we're trying to do. Let me show you how to do it. Let me treat you the way I want you to treat them. And let me care about you and care about what you're doing in your career and where you're going so that you can move forward. These two books that I have up here are great. Kindness Revolution is a book on customer service, but when you read it, it's talking about the culture, right? It's talking about culture. Great, great book. Culture Code also, this one just came out. That's a wonderful, wonderful book on how to help change your culture. That is a wonderful, wonderful book. So this is, by the way, this is that's my last slide. I only had 7 slides. I don't know if you guys saw this when I started, but I think PowerPoint makes us stupid, and in general agreed with me. So I try not to have a lot of slides. But yeah, this is it. But what questions do you guys have for me?
How long would you say it took you to infuse the culture that you wanted into your organization?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you have to think of it like this: management is a relationship, and just like every relationship, it takes time. 3 to 5 years to change the culture when you're coming in from outside. If you are already in the organization and you're trying to change the culture, you're really talking about changing you and how you deal with everyone. That's a little bit longer because you've got to kind of swim upstream against that water that's under the bridge already. So it takes a little bit longer because, you know, if I change the way I act today, nobody's going to believe it, right? They have to see it over time and say, oh no, this is, you know, there must have been some change in Glenn. Glenn had some epiphany and now he's, you know, now he believes this. Well, they have to see that over the course of a year. So they know it's real. And that's the other thing. You have to believe what you're doing. If you don't believe what you're doing, you are never going to be smarter. Your IQ is never going to be smarter than your people's emotional intelligence. And what I mean is you can't pull the wool over their eyes, but for so long. You have to actually believe it. You actually have to think this and want this and be part of this so that it's real and that they want to be part of that. But yeah, 3 to 5 years is typical. Do I have someone, if I have someone that's a jobber, doesn't buy into the culture, you know what, honestly, Rebecca, I try to create, I spent a lot of time thinking about the kind of culture that I wanted, what I had to do to create that culture, and then I went and did it. I want everyone on my team to be successful. Sometimes they need to be successful somewhere else. I mean, it's just how it is. If they're not going to be part of this, if they don't want this, if they just want a job, okay, then go get yourself a job. I want you to be successful in your own eyes. And maybe that success isn't here. You know, I can only, you know, lead a horse to water, so to speak. Yeah, no problem. I don't know if there was a lot of questions that came in. Is there anything that I missed that I didn't cover? I hate to ask you to repeat it, but I may need you to repeat it.
So we've talked a lot about how to encourage, and I guess my question is, how do you deal with failure, like big failure, like not
Right.
just like, you know, little mistakes here or there, but, you know, say somebody makes a mistake and it costs dozens of man hours or, you know, thousands of dollars. And I'm not just asking because my manager's in the audience.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And to me, we just have to fix it, right? My problem isn't, you know, the mistake. My problem is the fact that you didn't get more opinions on what you were doing, or you didn't collaborate with other people. or you didn't, you know. So mistakes like that, I think, really shine back on me, that I'm not creating, you're not understanding that environment. Now, sometimes you do have to have difficult discussions. Obviously, I start with a positive spin on motivating people towards the direction I need them to go. But sometimes you have to have that more, you know, more difficult discussion. And that's hard when you're trying to maintain a great culture. It's hard to have that negative discussion and make sure that that person feels like what you're trying to do is real, and it's not, you know. So that's a tough discussion, but I feel like if I'm honest, when people sit here, I'll say, look, your lack of performance means this to our team, and means this to our relationship with the users. And we can't continue with that because when you don't do these things, this doesn't happen, and then the team doesn't succeed, and everything else. And we have to do that. But again, I've had to have those discussions, but I much rather have the positive one first. But yeah, I mean, if somebody is making that big of a mistake that we're really screwed up, then I failed because they didn't grab somebody else, and they didn't, they thought they were the smartest person in the room, which I don't want anyone to think that they're the smartest person in the room. We're a team, and we're a team for a reason, because we're more powerful together than we are individually. Any other questions?
If I can just piggyback on that, I would say I agree with what you just said, but you have to look at the other side of that, I believe, also, which is you have to also look at your processes, your onboarding, your training process,
Sure.
because maybe the mistake the person made, yeah, it was their fault ultimately, but did they get the training they should have gotten? Was things documented properly? Was they
Right.
mentored properly?
Right.
What was
It
their
always comes
oversight
back
like?
on me. Yeah, it always comes back on me. Absolutely. And our hiring, when we hire, everybody in that department, in that division, is part of the hiring process. Everybody that's part of that team is part of the hiring process. So I don't decide who we hire. I'm just the person that signs the paper. And when I do it that way, what happens is everybody on the team has ownership in that person, and helps them along, and helps them grow, and wants them to succeed, because hey, they wanted that person to be here. So yeah, definitely, I definitely agree. Any other questions? Well, I tell you what, I'm going to hang out for a little bit, because I know we're after 5 here, and we're after our time. I'll hang out for a little bit. If you guys have more questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm always available. Like, if you hit me up on LinkedIn, send me an email. I'll be happy to talk with you and help you in your own way, or whatever you're trying to do. I'm happy to be that resource for you. So if you ever want to talk to me about this, just hit me up on LinkedIn, or send me an email, and I'll be happy to spend some time with you. So I'm going to hand the virtual lectern off to Tabitha to close us out.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Glenn, you did a great job. Thank you everyone for interacting with us on this session. We're closing out this session with another sponsor, A3 Communications. They have offices in Columbia, Charleston, South Carolina, Greenville, Charlotte, Raleigh, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Chicago, Birmingham, and Portland. A3 Communication is one of America's fastest growing system integrators. Founded in 1990, A3 provides a broad range of IT and security solutions for the public and private sectors, including unified communications, virtualization and storage, structured cabling, enterprise networking and wireless, IP video surveillance and access control, network security, electrical services, and audio-visual solutions. Their highly certified and experienced staff offer comprehensive support and maintenance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For more information on A3 Communications, please visit www.a3communications.com. Thank you all for joining us, and you all have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.